Welcome to this travel video of our 2014 trip to Kenai Fjords National Park near Seward, Alaska. I'm Jim Osmundson. My cousin Gary Cihlar and I took this trip on July 28, 2014. Monday morning we boarded the Coastal Explorer, a tour boat operated by Kenai Fjords Tours in Seward, Alaska, for a day trip to see the glaciers in Kenai Fjords National Park. We left the Seward Harbor heading south past the downtown area. Seward sits between the Kenai Mountains and the water on Resurrection Bay. The mountains jut straight up, towering between 4,000 and 5,000 feet above the water. There was quite a mixture of people on board, many of whom were from Europe. It was quite windy on deck and very chilly in the morning.
Coming into view on our left-hand side is Thumb Cove. It's a state park in the state of Alaska. 10,000 years ago, the Pleistocene Ice Age was coming to a close. That ice had retreated, leaving behind.
The cloud layer was high enough and sparse enough that we could see the mountains clearly. We stopped at Fox Island to pick up some more passengers. Fox Island, 12 miles south of Seward in Resurrection Bay, was the location of a fox farm in the 1920s. Now it's the home of a wilderness lodge operated by Kenai Fjords Tours.
Guys, if you've been waiting to get back out on the bow, you're more than welcome to head out that way.
After leaving Fox Island, we continued south past Humpback Glacier, which marks the beginning of the Kenai Fjords National Park. At 13 miles long, it is the longest glacier in the park. It is not a tidewater glacier. It ends in a lagoon a couple of miles short of Resurrection Bay. There were several boats fishing in the area.
Humpback whales can be found all over the world. Traveling up the Inland coast.
We saw some harbor seals laying on the seaweed-covered rocks along the island's shoreline. Then we saw our first gray whale. Oh, cool. It was spouting and making shallow dives. The boat was able to come close enough to get a good view of it. Doll porpoises found our boat and sped through the water just ahead of the bow. They made circus-like dives, zooming around the bow. They zipped past the bow, moving much faster than the boat. So fast that they were in no danger of being struck by the boat.
Next thing people ask is, are you afraid you're going to run them over? The answer is no. Animals are far faster than we are. And then the final explanation might be the sheer playfulness. You're going to add to the water.
There were a lot of them, not only around the boat, but well ahead of us, stirring up the water. There's a string of small rocky islands at the head of Bay. We passed through them and turned north into the bay toward Holgate Glacier. The sun shone through the clouds, illuminating the mountains and the fringes of ice along their tops. From Alick Bay, we turned northwest up the Holgate Arm toward the Holgate Glacier. There were glaciers high up on the peaks draped along the crest of the Harris Peninsula to our left. There were many pieces of ice floating in the water as we approached the glacier.
There you go, Surprise Glacier, Surprise Valley. You can see there's a glacier up in that valley. Another one just in the base underneath. Sort of get a sense of
Surprise Glacier was on our left as we neared the head of the bay. Its crevasses were bright blue-green in the sunlight. We were surprised to see some kayakers paddling their way through the bergy bits floating in the water.
generally ice is capped off in the last 24 or 36 hours. Gives you an idea. Swing the boat around the other way. I've got a generator running on the
Holgate Glacier is a tidewater glacier since it comes down to the water and calves its chunks directly into the sea. A few chunks broke off while we were there.
So I'm just going to shut down, let the glacier speak for itself for a little while here. Just for perspective, this thing stands, I told you a little bit about the height of it. We're about a quarter mile from it at this point, so we're about as far from it as it is from one side to the other. So we've got some time to sit and drift here.
The sound of ice breaking is like an explosion. Since we were about a quarter mile from the glacier, we could see the pieces break off and hear them a couple seconds later. There's a cold wind that blows down from the glacier when you're near it. You can really feel it on the deck of the boat. Plenty of snowfall here, plenty of precipitation. This is a temperate rainforest ecosystem every month of the year. Actually, January, I've been up here in January. Holgate Glacier is really big. You don't sense the size of the Holgate Glacier until you start moving away from it.
This humpback whale is likely in a feeding mode. These humpbacks, they're a filter feeder, they're a baleen whale. They don't have teeth, instead they have big plates called baleen. These are made out of cartilage, kind of like your fingernails. They come down from their upper jaw. So to eat, they'll take in a large quantity and grow a little bit of a horn. This whale. So he's just making numerous shallow dives, taking quick breaths at the surface, going back down. So he's just eating as much as he possibly can right now. He's in a pretty intense feeding mode.
Back out on Ailek Bay, we found some more whales feeding. Several breached while we were watching them. They came shooting straight up out of the water and then splashed down again.
Right.
Dankeschön.
I think I got that one though. He's showing off.
Remember, this animal is 55 feet long and weigh up 25, 35 tons.
Und nochmal. Wow.
Oh, that one I got.
He's showing off now.
And you might also get your glimpse over about the 3 o'clock position. There was another animal over there. So a lot of whales out here today. Each one of these is eating over a ton of food per day. Gives you some idea of how productive this ecosystem is.
We continued south to the islands at the mouth of Ailek Bay looking for wildlife. One of which was Natoa Island. We saw some stellar sea lions resting on the rocks. There were tons of seagulls on the island, along with puffins and a penguin-like bird called a common murre. There was a murre colony lined up on the edge of a rock high above the water. An interesting thing about the murre is that it's the deepest diving seabird that can still fly. From Natoa Island, we turned out into the Gulf of Alaska and north toward Resurrection Bay. The seas were pleasant and we had a relaxing trip back to Seward. All in all, the weather was very good this day. The visibility was great, the clouds were high enough to reveal the mountains in their entirety, and we had no rain. The sun played peekaboo all day long, but shone enough to add drama to the scene. The Holgate Glacier was awesome. It shed some of its bits with thunderous fanfare while we watched in amazement. The boat, the Coastal Explorer, was comfortable and its crew was pleasant and accommodating. They made it a fun trip. Kenai Fjords Tours is located at 1304 West 4th Avenue, Seward, Alaska, and is located in the middle of the Seward Harbor area. You can check them out at www.kenaifjords.com. There are more Alaska videos in post-production. Watch for them and other travel videos on this YouTube channel. This is Jim Osmondson. Thanks for watching.